Something I love doing at the start of the new year is reflecting back on the previous year and making a list of the things that I want to bring into the new year and the things that I want to bring behind. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my ins and outs for 2025. This is going to be a list of things that I'm leaving behind in 2024 and things that I am setting the intention to focus on in 2025. So I really hope that my list inspires you, and I definitely encourage you to make your own list. Also, I know this video is kind of coming a little bit late because we're already pretty late into January, but happy new year, happy 2025. I hope that you had a beautiful start to your year and that your January is going well. I took a little bit of a break to enjoy the holidays, and also I got that crazy virus that's been going around and that took me out for a while, but we are back. We are better than ever. I'm so excited for 2025 and everything that I have coming to this channel, and I'm so grateful for this amazing community. So thank you for being here. And with all of that being said, if you like these kinds of videos, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into it. So starting with my first in for 2025, it is tracking in the areas that I want to grow in. So in 2024, I was very much in my avoidant era. I was avoiding everything. I was avoiding looking at certain numbers, like my finances, for example. I was avoiding the reality of certain decisions that I was making. So for example, ordering DoorDash and eating a lot of fast food and kind of just doing things out of comfort rather than intentionality and alignment with my goals and what truly fulfills me. So something I'm doing differently this year is I am tracking. And what I mean by tracking is, for example, in my finances, I'm tracking where all of my money is going. I'm tracking the money that's coming in, money that's going out. I'm tracking my spending. And what I've realized is that tracking creates intentionality. It's not about being frugal. It's not about cutting back. It's not about restricting yourself. It's just about being more intentional in your decisions. So like I said, last year I was very much avoidant. I was not being intentional with the decisions I was making. And because I wasn't tracking the things that I was doing, whether that was the money I was spending or the food that I was eating, there was no intentionality with it. It was just me listening to my momentary impulses and desires rather than truly checking in with myself and asking, is this really what I want right now? Does this really align with the goals that I'm setting for myself? Also, I've been tracking my macros. I started doing this in the end of November, and I have genuinely been loving this so much. I was a little bit hesitant to do this because I do kind of have a past of disordered eating and just like unhealthy behaviors around food. If tracking calories and macros is something that still triggers you, because trust me, for a long time it did for me, I think that you can still track in a way that it feels less restrictive, like calories. You know, you can track just protein, for example, or you can track the types of food that you're eating. You can have like a food diary or something. Because also something else that I've noticed is having more data actually helps you to figure out when something is working and when it's not working, and pinpointing exactly why that is. I'm on like a body recomp journey where I'm intentionally trying to lose body fat and gain more muscle, which is why I'm focusing on my macros. And what I noticed is that I kind of hit a plateau for like 3 weeks where the scale wasn't moving at all. And in the past, if that was happening, I would have panicked. I would have like ate whatever I wanted. I probably would have abandoned everything. But because I have the data, I can look back and see, okay, this is why I'm not losing weight, or this is why the scale isn't moving. And it's because of my cycle, for example. And I also have the Aura ring, so I'm able to see exactly when my cycle is. I'm able to see like when I bleed, when I ovulate, all of that. And then I can tie that data to my macros, and then tie that data with my scale and my body fat percentage and my weight and all of that. And just having all of these data points allowed me to figure out, okay, this is why the scale isn't moving right now, because I'm late into my cycle and my body retains more water, and this is a pattern because it happened last time too. And if I didn't have that data, then I would just kind of feel discouraged and like freak myself out about why the scale isn't moving. And then same with my money too. I really value freedom, and to me, budgeting, counting calories, doing all of those things felt very restrictive. But what I'm feeling now is that it creates more freedom because you're able to actually create intentionality in your life. Like, I'm still allowing myself that freedom to buy whatever I want, but I just have to be a little bit intentional about it. I saw a TikTok the other day about a light bulb from Amazon, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. And I literally went on Amazon and I bought it because I knew that I had enough money in my budget that I allocated specifically for shopping. Whereas if I wasn't wasn't budgeting, if I wasn't tracking my spending, that would have been considered an impulsive spending. And then I probably would have felt shame and guilt for buying something on Amazon after seeing it on TikTok. And it's no coincidence to me that my finances are growing. My progress in the gym is improving. I'm losing weight. Like, I'm actually seeing progress in these areas because I'm tracking and because I'm being intentional. So more of that in 2025. Kind of going along with that, my first out for 2025 is avoidance. So like I said, 2024, I was very much avoiding the difficult things. And it wasn't even just difficult things like my finances and unhealthy eating and stuff like that, but also difficult emotions. I was turning a lot to scrolling on social media or eating unhealthy food as a way to cope with difficult emotions because I didn't want to feel them. I didn't really know how to process the difficult emotions. And I definitely owe it to my therapist because I have learned a lot about processing and holding space for my emotions. So something that is out for 2025 is avoiding and running away from my emotions and instead just sitting with them, giving them space, validating them, acknowledging them, and building a relationship with my emotions. I think when you're able to do that and you have tools for emotional regulation, you just live your life in a more stable and peaceful way. You know that your life is not controlled by your emotions. You are making decisions based on what is fulfilling you in life and what it is that you want to create for your life rather than momentary emotions and momentary comfort. Okay, next on my list is authentic expression. So when I talk about authentic expression, I mean this in several different areas of my life, but the first is content creation. So I've noticed a pattern within myself where whenever I'm going through something in my life, I abandon my social media. Like, I stop posting on YouTube, stop posting on TikTok, stop posting on Instagram, and just pour all my energy into myself. Although I don't think it's a bad thing to take a break, because of the niche that I'm in where I'm talking a lot about personal development and bettering yourself, I do feel that I put a lot of pressure on myself to only show up when I'm perfect and when I can give value. I don't want to do that anymore because last year was a really hard year for me and I didn't show up on social media because of it. Whereas I feel like I could have leaned into those difficult moments and showed up more authentically. I don't necessarily have to share everything that I'm going through and like spill my heart out on the internet, but I do still want to show up for my community and show up for you guys that click on my videos. I don't want to abandon you just because I'm going through something challenging. And I also don't feel like I need to show up perfect all the time. Like, I started doing that at the end of last year where I showed up in moments sharing uncomfortable things. Like, if you watch my video all about growing through like success pains, when at the end of last year my YouTube started growing rapidly and I was feeling a lot of like imposter syndrome and like overwhelmed due to like the growth, like I sat down and I recorded a video and opened up about that authentically. And that's what I want to continue doing, is expressing authentically and sharing these difficult things and how I'm navigating them, because I think there's so much power in that. I think there's so much power in you seeing me show up in that way and express myself. And yeah, I personally don't resonate with the content creators who only show up when things are perfect. I resonate with real people who share their struggles and real people who share their authentic expression. So more of that in 2025. And also another way that I want to authentically express even more in 2025 is in communicating with other people. So several different meanings to this. First of all, whenever I have feelings or beliefs or certain perspectives about a situation, being honest with the person about it and authentically expressing and communicating how I feel about certain things. Of course, to a certain extent, it's not like everybody needs to know my deepest, darkest emotions, but if it's something that's weighing heavy on my heart and I feel that it's authentic for me to express, I want to lean into that this year. And that's something I'm really learning in therapy, is authentically expressing, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. That's something that's always been difficult for me, is to authentically express myself. And I think it definitely depends on the person, whether they are creating that safe space for authentic expression and helping me feel safe and secure to authentically express myself. So I want to lean into more connections that allow for that authentic expression. And then the last way that I mean is in communicating with people socially. Sometimes people will gossip or they'll talk poorly about other people, and I feel uncomfortable in those moments because I don't personally like gossiping. I don't like speaking about other people's flaws, and I get a little bit uncomfortable in those moments, and like the people pleaser in me wants to agree with them or wants to add to the conversation in order to not feel uncomfortable in my skin and to not create tension and like this awkward silence. But what I want to do instead, and what I have been doing, is staying in my authentic expression. And if it doesn't feel right for me to say anything, then to just not say anything at all and to just allow for the silence to happen. I don't want to say certain things just to make other people feel more comfortable. You know, if somebody is gossiping or talking poorly about somebody else, they are creating that discomfort. They are creating that moment. And if it is not authentic for you to add to that conversation, if you don't like to do those things, but you do it anyways from a place of like people pleasing or getting them to like you, like I don't like that feeling. I never leave those interactions feeling good. It feels like I am almost like coming down to a lower version of myself. So I really like to stay strong in my authentic expression in those moments. And whether I'm standing up for the person that they're talking shit about or I'm just not adding to the conversation, that is what is authentic to me. The next thing on my out list for 2025 is living in the past. So this has been something I've been struggling with ever since moving back home to my hometown that I grew up in. And I feel like it's because everywhere I go, it's almost like a constant reminder of my past and of my past self, of who I was before I healed and who I was before I found myself, who I was before I went on this self-discovery journey. And then because I have those constant reminders of the past, I find myself constantly living in the past, like fantasizing about my past and asking myself like what could have been, or thinking about what could have been, like what if I stayed here, what if I didn't leave. But what I realized is that by constantly living in the past, it's preventing me from living in the present moment and fully embracing my future. It feels like a more positive perception of the past, and like we tend to romanticize the past. We tend to only think about the positive things from our past, whether it's a past relationship or a past environment, a past situation, anything that we did in our past, we'd look back and we think about the good things without really remembering the bad things or reasons why we left certain situations. And so I've just been guiding myself back to the present moment and thinking a lot more about my future and just sort of catching myself in the moment whenever I do find myself living a lot in the past and affirming to myself, we are here right now. The past is the past. We can leave the past behind. We can let it go. We can look back at the past lovingly, but it is not our future. Okay, my next in for 2025 is building intentional routines that are going to allow me to achieve my goals. So when I set my New Year goals, I also asked myself, what are the specific habits and routines that are going to allow me to effortlessly achieve this goal? So for example, if one of your goals is to lose weight, what are the specific routines and habits that you need to do in order to achieve that goal? For me, a big part of my 2025 goal is to pay off all of my debt and to build stronger financial habits and to also move out of my parents' house. So because of that, I need to create very specific routines in order to allow me to achieve that goal. So I wanted to share with you the specific routines that I'll be doing to achieve my financial goals. So the first routine is having a payday routine. So whenever I get a paycheck or get paid by a client, I just kind of take some time to set aside some money for taxes and then also figure out where I'm going to allocate the rest of the money. I've been doing zero-based budgeting, so making sure that every single dollar has a place to go to, and that has been really helping me. Another routine is a monthly budget check-in and also a weekly check-in. So every Sunday, checking in with my budget, tracking my expenses for the week. I actually bought a budget template from a TikTok creator. Her name is Erin. I can leave her template down in the description box. And I bought a debt payment tracker off of Etsy, and I think the debt payment tracker was only like $2, but I really love it because you plug in all of your debt and how much you're paying on minimum payments and also how much extra you can allocate towards your debt, and then it'll give you an exact date of when you'll be debt free based on those numbers. So that has been really exciting to see, because seeing like a specific date kind of allows you to create plans for yourself. Like, okay, if I'm expected to become debt-free by October, then I can make plans for November and December to save up to move out of my parents' house, for example. That's my situation. So if this is something that you resonate with, ask yourself, what are routines and structures that you can create to better support your goals? My next out for 2025 is being so focused on my goals that I isolate from connection. I feel like there's so much messaging out there on social media all about locking in and isolating, and I feel like I've said this multiple times, but I do not resonate with that messaging at all. And I think it's also because I naturally isolate. Like, I am an introvert, so I naturally isolate. So it's not something that I have to make an effort to do. I guess it would be different for you if you're more of an extrovert and you can spend your every single waking moment with other people, then maybe your intention is to isolate and to spend a little bit more time by yourself. But if you're somebody who's more like me, you're more introverted and it's easier for you to be alone, I find that you have to make more of an effort to not isolate. And especially when I have goals, when I have things that I'm working on, or when I have a lot on my plate, that's when I isolate, because I'm like, nope, I barely have enough energy to keep me afloat. I will absolutely not be socializing or connecting with anybody. But then whenever I do that, my mental health goes down the drain, because connection and fulfillment is a big part of our health and wellness. I was actually listening to Gracie Norton's podcast, and she was talking about how relationships are such a core aspect of wellness. You know, we think a lot about eating healthy and exercising and sleeping as being core components of wellness. And of course, those things are really important, but connection and fulfillment that we get from relationships are equally, if not more important than those things. And sometimes we can be so focused on our wellness, so focused on making sure we get to bed at the perfect time so we can get enough hours of sleep, to the point that we miss out on connecting with people. We miss out on going out with our friends and having fun and building like fulfilling connections with people. So something that is out for me in 2025 is isolating myself so much and being so focused on my goals that I don't make time for connections. Another thing that is in for me in 2025 is strong sleep habits. Sleep seriously is the foundation to health. Like, if I check off every single box, I exercise, I eat well, I drink enough water, if I don't sleep well, I will not feel good. Like, it is seriously the foundation. And sleep also impacts your emotions, your emotional regulation ability, also your thoughts and your focus. I really notice that on the days that I don't get good sleep, it's more difficult for me to focus. And I'm also more emotionally sensitive. Like, it's easier for me to cry on those days. Literally me today. And this was something that I was really struggling with in December and also a little bit of November too. And I realized that it's because I didn't have a consistent wake up routine. I was really struggling with my sleep in November and December, and I tried everything. I tried to perfect my bedtime routine. I got magnesium. I even invested in the Hatch alarm clock, which, by the way, I ended up returning it. It was not worth it. Sorry if you love it. I know so many people talk about it, but I got magnesium. I got mouth tape. I got everything to set myself up for the perfect sleep environment, and nothing was working. Like, I was struggling so bad to fall asleep. And I realized it's because I didn't have a consistent wake up time. I would kind of just wake up whenever. And the problem with that is that one day I would wake up at 6 a.m. because I had to go to work that day. And then the next day I would sleep in until 10. That is a huge difference. You want to make sure that you're waking up within, I think like it's like an hour or 2 hour difference. So if you wake up at 6 a.m. on the weekdays, you don't want to sleep in till 1 p.m. on the weekends. You want to sleep in till maybe like 7 or 8 a.m. But anything past that, you're going to get, I think it's called sleep lag. It's like jet lag, but with your sleep. So this year I'm focusing on creating and sticking to that consistent wake up time. So for me, it's 6 a.m. and on the weekends it's 7:30, while still maintaining like my healthy bedtime routine. Next on my out list is consuming unhealthy diet culture messages. I don't know if you've noticed this like I have, but it feels like there's been a wave of skinny culture and like unhealthy diet culture messaging on social media, where people are just pushing these heavy narratives about eating less and restricting yourself, and just these unhealthy messages that really don't make you feel good. And it's something that I've really had to rewire, because now that I'm counting macros and I'm focusing on hitting anywhere from 130 to 150 grams of protein a day, I am actually eating a lot. Like, that is 3 meals and 2 snacks, or it's 3 big meals. Like, it is a lot of food. And it's made me realize like, and I'm hitting my goals. Like I am progressing, I am losing weight, I am gaining muscle. And I think that's been something that's really cool to see, is that I am so satiated, I don't feel hungry, and I'm still in a caloric deficit because I'm focusing on protein. And so that's why I just don't resonate with the whole messaging about like eat less. Like yes, eat less of like the unhealthy food, but focus more on adding healthier foods to your diet. Focus more on the things that satiate you. Focus more on protein, on vegetables. I've noticed that if I just have chicken and rice, for example, like I'm gonna be hungry. But if I have chicken, rice, and spinach or broccoli or green beans or some type of vegetable that acts as like a volume food, that is what's going to satiate me for longer. Because also I'm working with a fitness coach who's really helping me with my nutrition and with my body recomposition. And then kind of going along with that, my next in for 2025 is daily intentional movement. So right now, I think I'm on day 50 of 75 hard, and something that I love about this challenge is that it forces you to do some sort of intentional movement every single day. And when I say intentional movement, I don't mean going to the gym and doing like an intense workout every single day, but more so some type of intentional movement, whether that's hitting your step goal or doing yoga, going to a hot Pilates class, which I've absolutely been loving, going to the gym and lifting weights, or it could literally even be swimming, doing something fun, just intentionally moving your body. I have just noticed a huge difference in the past almost 50 days of being on 75 hard, that like my body really thrives when I'm moving a lot. Like I almost feel myself getting like antsy when I'm sitting down for too long. And that used to never be me. Like I used to live a very sedentary lifestyle where I would sit at a desk all day and then go home and lay on the couch scrolling on TikTok. And like that was my life. Like I was barely hitting like 5,000, 6,000 steps a day. And as a result of that, not only did I gain weight, but I also felt so much pain in my body. Like my back was always hurting. I had a lot of foot pain. And I just felt like uncomfortable in my body. I didn't feel super athletic. And like that's something that I love. There's two sides to social media. Like yes, there is that unhealthy like diet culture messaging that I was talking about, but there is a lot of benefits too to social media. Like I feel like in the past year, there's been a huge push on hitting your step goal, like hitting your 10K steps, people getting like walking pads and really putting an emphasis on increasing your steps. And I actually really do appreciate that, because increasing my steps was honestly a game changer. And maybe I can make a whole video on that. So let me know if you want me to talk about that, like all the different ways that I increase my steps and make sure to hit my step goal each day, and my whole journey with that, because I really do feel like that contributed to me hitting my weight loss goals, my fat loss goals, and feeling better about my body. And also something else that I love about focusing on steps is that walking is easy. Like walking is enjoyable. You can do it with a friend, you can do it with your dog, like you can just walk on a treadmill. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to like break up a sweat. Like I personally, I don't like intense workouts. I do not like boot camp workouts. I don't like running. I don't like doing anything super intense. And I always thought that like you had to do those things in order to be fit, in order to be athletic. I don't do those things, and I still feel fit and athletic just because I'm constantly moving my body. Hitting my step goal honestly makes me feel more fit and more athletic. My last out for 2025 is overworking myself. And I feel like this kind of goes along in the category of being so focused on your goals that you isolate yourself, but also overworking yourself to the point where you don't have work-life balance. This has been something I have been very guilty of the past couple of months, especially because when I moved back to my parents' house, I was so eager to like work on my goals and like figure things out. And I also started a new job. So it's like balancing my job with also my business, with also my YouTube, and just so many things that I have to balance that I'm like overworking myself and not taking enough time for self-care. So that is something that is out in 2025. Because I really feel like that's why I got so sick in December, is I just ran myself into the ground. Like I was just not taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping well. I was working so much and it was just not good for me. And I got really sick because of it. And that was my lesson. You need to take care of yourself. It is okay to have boundaries. It is okay to say, nope, it's 5 o'clock. I'm not responding to this work email. I actually just went in today. I set hours in my Google chat, like where I talk to my coworkers hours on, and I set it for Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you talk to me outside of those hours, I will get back to you the next day. And I think we need more of that in 2025, is having boundaries, especially when it comes to work, not letting yourself work too much, work yourself to the ground, because you know what? At the end of the day, we are just another number to these companies, and we cannot be sacrificing our self-care, our health, our happiness, our fulfillment for a paycheck. And I also kind of feel like something that goes along with that too is not making your entire life work. And I feel like that's something I'm also guilty of, is that I get so focused on like my goals and the things that I want to accomplish that I'm like, I don't do anything for fun. I just get so laser focused that I don't have fun. And so something I want to incorporate, I guess that's another in that I just thought of right now, is hobbies and having fun and doing things just for the sake of doing them. Like I bought a coloring book on Amazon a couple months ago that I still haven't used, and that would be something that's for fun. I feel like the only thing that I do for fun is scroll on TikTok, and I don't like that. I also want to read more like fun books. Like I have Fourth Wing, somebody gave it to me recently, and I have not made the time to read it. I started it and I do like it, so I'll keep you updated if you're a reader and you like those kinds of books. I'm personally not super into like fantasy. I think that's why it's been a little bit hard for me to get into it, but I really enjoy like romance and like thriller and like suspense books. So those are my ins and outs for 2025. I would love to hear one of your ins or outs for 2025. So please leave me a comment down below, or if there's something that's on my list that you're like, yes girl, same. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you on my next video. Bye.